get back to these extension candidates if we could, as the show's completely gone off the rails already. I think if it's not Trey McBride, I think it's one of the two offensive linemen. And if I'm looking at that group right now, every year in free agency, I feel like quality guards are available. I think they're going to get Will Hernandez something done, assuming he plays well. How often are there starting centers that have a rapport with your quarterback available in free agency, Bo? I just feel like it doesn't happen. I think Hjalte Froholdt, if it's not Trey McBride, it will be the journeyman, quote-unquote, journeyman center that they snagged from the Browns. They stole from the Browns. He played a really good season last year. If Froholdt plays all 17 games again this year, it's a done deal. There is no heir apparent on this roster, respectfully to Jonathan Gaines and Isaiah Adams. Trey McBride is number one. Hjalte Froholdt for me is number two. Based on position, not versatility, but importance, you have to have a quality center with your franchise quarterback, Kyler Murray, making $50 million.
Yeah, and Froholdt is already like revered in the locker room. I had asked him about, the leadership role he's kind of taken on this year, and he kind of shot back. Like, it's not something he intended on doing, but it's just basically happened organically. And it happened early last year as he was an all-star in the weight room, and he'd done everything that was asked of him from his new organization. And obviously he had a little bit of a leg up because he had some insight on how Drew Petzing wanted to do things offensively. He was an extension of the coach. But, for Hjalte, like I agree, he's at the right age, and his play last year merited it. And I think it's going to merit it this season. And also going into this, like, there's no heir apparent in the building right now. Like, you can say, I like John Gaines as a prospect, but that's what he is. Like, all we know about John Gaines is he was a versatile offensive lineman at UCLA, really athletic for a big man coming off a serious ACL injury. But do we know if he can be a full-time center? I mean, we think so, but this is a league where it will chew up and spit out young offensive linemen. Not everybody's Creed Humphrey coming from the Big 12 at Oklahoma and then immediately starring at the center spot. It's a tough spot to fill. And Hjalte Froholdt, like, you don't let him out of your grasp when you have an opportunity to keep him in. So I got to imagine, and I think that this has got to be a question anytime we get to talk to Monty is, are you talking with Froholdt's representation? Is that somebody you're looking to lock in long term? Because I think that's an important question going forward.
Will Hernandez is a tough SOB, and I hope they extend him. But he's already gotten 2 contracts from this franchise from 2 different regimes. Froholdt, I mean, you talk about coming out of nowhere, claiming the job, not letting it go to the point where, like, we were talking last offseason, like, who is the veteran that they had signed in June or July to come in and compete with Hjalte Froholdt that ended up, like, we thought would be, a threat to him. He got cut before, the end of the training camp preseason, and it was Froholdt's job.
But
And so, listen, at the end of the day, you can't screw around with certain positions in the NFL. You can't screw around with quarterback, head coach, I think edge rusher. I think center has become a premium position in the NFL. Like, it's offensive line, it's interior, people dismiss it. But the amount that you have to take hold, the calls that you have to make, it's also a big reason, like the Corey Linsleys of the world, right? The guys that pop later in their career, you have to be intellectually capable to handle a lot. And you're mixing and matching different combinations. That's why guys like Lindsey, when they hit the market and they go from the Packers to the Chargers or wherever, it's like, oh, this guy's 30 years old. He's playing his best football. The Cardinals finally have the foresight with Dave Sears and Monty Osford to say, like, we can identify talent from other teams that we feel like within our scheme can excel. We're going to put them in a position. You might have been a backup or a 6 offensive lineman here. You're going to come here and we're going to elevate you with our coaching and our culture and the players around you. Well, when you find that, you don't want to let that go and let that go somewhere else. Like, they want to be able to have the best years of Hjalte Froholdt's career happen right here in the desert. Like, I have no problem saying this. And this is not a hot take because the position has been such a dumpster fire for forever. He is their best center easily since Lyle Sentline. Rodney Hudson was a huge disaster, right? They went through way too many under Bruce Arians. I mean, this is the best center unequivocally Kyler Murray has ever played with consistently. The fact that he's team, he's always with the players in the offseason. He's always working his ass off. If you follow him on Instagram, he's working out in his garage, in his weight room. Like, he's all bought in. So he may not be the most talented. He may not be Tyler Lindenbaum-esque, right? Or Ragnow or whatever the guy in Detroit. But he's maxing out every single piece of his athletic prowess, his athletic attributes, ability to help the Cardinals win. So, like, I think, like, if they turned around tomorrow and they signed Hjalte Froholdt to a 3-year, $45 million deal with like $25 million guaranteed, I think most of the fans would be like, good move, smart move, right?
And I mean, we see John Gaines. He was in street clothes yesterday. I mean, he's not.
Well,
he's not starting. He's not participating right now. I'm not knocking the kid. I mean, he had the ACL tear in the final game of the preseason. Like he's got a long road back. And this is not a position he played full time in college.
No.
This is a position that they feel like he could play at the next level, but they were going to lean on his versatility. It's not anybody that, like, I think is a true threat right now to push Hjalte Froholdt. If anything, it's the guy that Froholdt was joking around about that has NFL center experience, and Evan Brown who could pop over there. Right?
Can I just read you a quick stat here on Hjalte Froholdt too? Because I think a lot of people, I mean, he was a 4th rounder from the Patriots. So Austin Ford scouted him. And then he has ties to Drew Petzing because he was in Cleveland with Petzing. He played 1,100 snaps last year, precisely 1,123 snaps. You know how many hits he allowed? 4. 3 sacks allowed. And I think that was early in the season. I mean, he is an exceptionally consistent player. You don't just throw that away. So to me, it is Trey McBride because he's an alpha, he's an A player. And then it's Hjalte Froholdt, respectfully. Like, I love James Conner and Budda Baker. I am prioritizing the guys that are younger, that I think play more valuable positions, because here's what you can unequivocally say. Jalen Thompson played better than Budda Baker last year. Now, Budda has a chance to reclaim that this year and be an all-pro, and we're hoping and rooting for that, and I would be excited if they extended him. But Trey McBride and Hjalte Froholdt, to me, are atop the list right now.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it. And I think Will Hernandez is so endearing as far as, what he brings to the locker room, the camaraderie, and the offensive line. And like, if it becomes one of those hard decisions, like, because he could be sought after if he gets to free agency. And I think, do we have the Will Hernandez clip from yesterday? I believe we do. Damon's got this. This is from yesterday, but we're going to play it today for the first time. Will Hernandez just talking about, his excitement being in the Valley and potentially staying in the Valley.
I love living out here in Phoenix. I feel right at home. It's where I want to be. And another year, it's just another opportunity to be here longer.
I mean, that's all you have to say there. But internally, like, when I look at this list, like, viable in-house options, I think interior offensive line, especially with the young guys that they have from, like, the kid they drafted, Isaiah Adams out of Illinois, even though, he figures more on the left side or more comfortable on the left side, and then Gaines, of course. And then you look at, I think guard would be more the position that they would F around with, like, not in the worst sense, like, but they would want to lock in your center first and then move out.
Will Hernandez was, let's just say, he had an uncomfortable time in New York. I think he would tell you that. Like, the fans weren't great to him.
Everybody who plays the offensive line has a tough time in New York.
He was a high pick out of, what was it, UTEP? I loved him coming out of UTEP. Tremendous prospect. Went to the Senior Bowl, crushed it, had a good rookie year for the Giants, and then their organization basically imploded, and he suffered the brunt of that. He has been nothing if not above average since he came to the Arizona Cardinals. So much so, you talk about enduring. Like, there are games in which he doesn't practices, weeks of practice where he doesn't participate. And you're like, no chance he plays this weekend. He goes out there and competes. Like, he is a throwback in the truest sense. Plus, he's talked about the comfort level in Arizona, being close to where he grew up. His heritage is here. The people he knows, right? Close to family. You can't put a price on that. Like, certainly you could get offered more to move, back out east or, Middle America or wherever. That will play a factor. I'm not asking anybody to take a discount. I think the Cardinals, I have no insight on this, have Will Hernandez if they want him. And I think they would. And I think you could do just a series of maybe 2-year deals with Will. It's like, hey, man, we'll give you some guarantee money. Let's just run it back a couple of years. Whereas I think Hjalte Froholdt, if Hjalte Froholdt plays 17 games this year and builds upon what he did last year, he will have a robust market. And you better
probably
make
be
sure.
a $50 million center.
Right.
Don't you think? I mean,
yeah.
That's pretty great. I mean, but then you see some of the junk that got, big time deals this offseason. I don't think there's any doubt. Like when you find consistent play and guys that can do it, and he's cerebral, right? He's strong, and he's in his prime. Like he's 27 now, as the graphic points out, and he'll be, a couple more years there before people start to see fall off at that position. I mean, and those are two guys that we're talking about that just made the trip with, or just went to the ball game with Kyler Murray at Chase Field on Sunday.
It makes me think they're not going anywhere.
Will Hernandez went to Norman, hung out. He went to the OKC Dallas game too in Oklahoma City. Like he's traveling with Kyler Murray. He's boys with Paris Johnson Jr. Like that. It's a tight knit group, and it's the group, especially the offensive line, that you want to be the tightest, most cohesive on your team.